Hey guys, my name is Dmitro. I have nothing to sell you and I want to talk about SaaS. How to make this and how you can rethink also in some case when we're talking about the SaaS. This also could be implemented in any startup engineering product which you wanna build as well. So here would be a pros and cons, what you need to be aware before you want to make a SaaS. So ladies and gentlemen, let's begin. So first of all, I want to talk about the minuses which you need to know before you wanna build a SaaS. This is definitely the hardest which you can imagine. So to build a SaaS, you need definitely understand and know about like how to build this product from the engineering perspective. You need to go deeply into doing this. You need to know a lot of things into marketing and how to gain an audience and so on so on. This is the first thing. So this is a minuses. The second one, you need a ton of the money to build a project. So for example, the junior engineer would be cost you around like $5 to $10 per hour. So you can imagine like if you need just one engineer for the front end and you need one engineer for the back end, how this one gonna cost you. And but depending on the estimation of your product, how long you need to build this product, so you can just basically understand how much money you need. Go deeply into research and networking. You need to like know how to build your SaaS before you building it, and then after you build your SaaS you need to sell it somehow. So you need a lot of the skills in which your SaaS success depending on which. So as I said, before you build a SaaS you need a lot of the things which you need to be aware of. So the first one, this is the planning phase. In the planning phase, you need deeply know the infrastructure. So you need deeply go into your plan and plan everything. It's also depend on like what you are building, but you need to plan every possible step here. So if you have a chat there, what framework you will use for the chatting. If you have a video integration, you need to understand like what framework you will use, how to store those videos. So basically to know deeply what you will do, and based on this you need to create a plan, and in this plan you basically need to write or even test, like just make some simple application for each of these phases. And the biggest trouble here why I'm talking about is because like you can like basically go on any guideline and say, or into the framework itself, and it would say that this is working, but the problem is gonna appear when you combining some of these things. So for example, when you have a chat and you want to combine this with a video integration, what the problems could be there. If you have a video integration and you like want to make video recordings, does the Google Meet supporting this? And the answer is no. But does the other framework supporting this? Does this framework work with your, I don't know, core which you are doing? So there's like a bunch of different things which is appearing only when you start combining those together, if you have a different features inside. And more complex your end product would be, more complex it would be to like gonna build it. So the second one, you need to understand like why you build some of this technology. It's so on this phase you don't even build anything, you just making an estimation. So you need to understand the technologies which you will use there, why you select those technology, and how you can improve it, and what is the possible problems that are going to be. So for example, in our case, when we start building an MVP, we basically select some like simple online databases like Superbase or Firebase, but we like quickly get an understanding that those is not working for us, because the Superbase in this case, it's not really great working with the GraphQL. This list will be alone. So I would also suggest you to make an estimation in hours how you think it's gonna will be in hours to build some of those features. And why you need this? Because you need, based on this estimation, you gonna create your costs, and inside this cost you only will calculate the estimation per hour of each individual who gonna work with you, or if this is only you will understand like how long you need to build this. And basically this is the first thing which any lead developer doing before they start working on some project, right? And the last one in this planning phase, it would be the core features. You need to understand like what is the core features there would be. And I know even the people who build in projects as startups, as SaaS, whatever, they only use their one core feature with which they cannot eject, which they cannot drop or delete, whatever. So they use only one feature, and if this feature, and they launch this feature, right, as a startup, and if this feature is going to work, the users is there and they already have an auditor, then they could start bringing there a lot of different features which there could be. This is the most valuable which you could do, is just make one feature there, the only one feature which is a core of your product. So if we will go to the second phase here, so the other services cost. This is something which no one gonna tell you, but the services which you want to include in your project, and the services, this is a common thing. Like for example, you want to attach a chat there, or you want to attach any type of video integration, whatever you name it, right? So if you want to attach those, you already could find some frameworks which could do this by you, for you, and you just implement this in your case. So you just implementing their SDK and paying them a fee for this. It's super easy, but when you start building your project from different features like in one project, you quickly realize that those features is not super cheap. And for example, you need to think about like what is the backend side of this. Would you use some of the AWS, Google Cloud services? Because AWS, the databases there, the pricing on the databases, it's, I believe, starting from the 1,000 in a month, something like this. So you need to think about this side of thing also. So also regarding the testing, would you want to get a tester? Do you know how to test this by your own? And in this case, I will just interact with this. In this case, testing is not the must, I believe, because the testing on the MVP project is just something which you can exclude. I believe you can remove it, because this is just external cost, and if you don't have a customers, you basically do not need a testing there, because even your customer could become a testers, and that's why the open beta, or you can become a beta testers, like what these features exist as well. So besides this, you also need to think about the customer support. I know that a lot of this, the startups is not including the customer support as well, but there's like some framework or features which is you can integrate. So for example, the Zendesk, it's a framework, it's super low cost, but you can integrate this instantly, and then you can start using it, and you will receive a support from your beta user. You will receive the response. And also you can think about DevOps, like, well, do you want to have a DevOps? How you gonna manage the backend side of this? How you're gonna manage the the proxies and etc. So the other services cost is a big lift here, and I would suggest you to instantly think about this before you even start doing something, so you can calculate, you can understand your price. When you will attach this framework on your project, you will understand like how the cost will gonna grow instantly. For us, for example, we're just paying for the, something like a GitHub pipeline, paying for the something like very simple stuff. But all of them, we have a lot of the supporting things, and all of this thing is basically gonna cost us like $1,000 a month, and this is like really painful. So the next thing here would be a mock-up or design. And I'm telling you about the design, but actually what I mean here is like you can basically have a mock-up, and if you're familiar somehow with the design elements, for example the material or Cupertino, you can just use their elements from the start. I will suggest you to do this. And why I'm telling about this more in the UX priority, because the UX is the general here. The UX is the core for your project. If you would have a wrong UX, your users probably would be confused on like what they need to press and where they need to press it. So for example, you have like, the Amazon application on your mobile phone, and in some cases you need to understand like how to show the purchase button, how to show the, I don't know, like where user would proceed on the next step. This is super core feature, and you need to think about the UX before you start building a project, and you need to understand like user behavior. So how you can, if you are new into this, right, so how you can avoid, if you don't know like what is the best UX approach, you can basically make a mock-up for yourself. There's a bunch of product online, even a free one, which you can use. I do not suggest you to use a Canva or something like this, because for me it's very painful. But if you want, I can send a link of these sites below the video if you're in the comments. So I would suggest you to do a mockup by your own, how you think it would be great for the user, and then just hire some consultant or expert in this niche, pay him like a one time. He will go through your mockups and give you a feedback before you start building this. Because if you have a wrong UX and then you build a design on the UI on this thing, and your UX is wrong, or you need to change something there, it would be really painful to do this when you have already a design, and it would be more painful even when you already have an application and you need to do all of this iteration to change something there. This is the hardest thing in the UX. You need to understand how to pack all of your features into great UX so the users will use it in the way how you gonna imagine. And the spoiler here, that users not every time or not always using your UX how you can imagine this should be. So in some cases the button should be here and it should be obviously for you, but not obviously for them, so what this button should to do. The second one is you need to gain users from the start, and this is something which we experience says about, because when we launch our project we do not have a lot of beta users, which was hard for us to get feedback from those users. And this means like you need to improve your SaaS project as well, like iterationally, right? To do this, you need to gain a feedback from your users instantly and on the daily basis. So more users would come for you to try your project, more users you can ask about the feedback, and more users would give you feedback, more better your project would be. So this is the some problem which we experienced about, but I would suggest you to do this from the start, because this is really big lift, and you can even like read a lot of books from the people who working on the startups all their life. But even there they would tell you about that if you do not have a lot of audience from the start, if you don't have a lot of users, beta users who want to try to use your product, even your product is really great, they would not know about it. And if you do not do a payment advertisement or something like this, and you don't have a start from some users, you don't have an audience there, basically you don't have a user, because you have a product but you cannot launch it because users will not know about it, right? So in this case you can just start working with the Twitter, Product Hunt. I know even some people working with the Reddit on this case. So this is the platform which you can start to like try to use your auditory somewhere, or just grab those auditory in some cases. So the last but not least, this is when you're gonna stop. So it's something which you need to think about from the start, because if you have an idea and you think this idea would be brilliant and you don't have a users, you need to validate it, right? This is the first step. When you validate and you start building through all of these steps and you already build a product, you have some users, and you keep doing features which no one gonna use it, why you building them. And you basically, the first thing which you need to do here is like you need to get a feedback always and always. This is the first thing which you need to do there. And the second, why you building those features if you have a core feature and this is working, even in case if this is working, right? If this feature is working and you can implement some features, like there's a bunch of the sites which give you basically a framework, you can just implement this on some of your landing page, and the users could add a feature which they want to use there. They can even vote on this. I would suggest you to implement some kind of this thing before you even start building a feature, but if you know what you're doing, probably you can proceed with this. But the stop phase there's needs to be something before you even start. So for example, you starting building this product, and then, for example, you build this feature, you build this DOS product, you're trying to promote it, and no one is gonna come, and no one is going to give you a feedback. You basically don't have a market fit. But if you wanna fight for this project, right, this is also a flip side thing. If you're gonna fight for this project, you can think about and go deeply about product market fit, and every product could have a product market fit. You just basically need to find your users, you need to define your customer, and work with those customers, even if not from the payment advertisement, but you can find them one by one, let's say from the cold outreach, and ask them like what you want to change it, do you like interested in this, and such bunch of stuff. Okay, so if we will come back to the users updates, etc. So when you want to gain your audience, I will suggest you as well to work with your social media. So you can start from there. So you can start from the Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, whatever you want to use. And you even can involve the influencers there, because the influencers is the some already target audience which you can use. You can ask them to, like, on the payment basis, to like promote your product, or ask somewhere in their social media about like those questions which you are interested in. This is something which you need to work constantly, and the audience would grow, and when you launch your product, you already would have an audience to and beta users who you can work with.